Typically, teachers have one Moodle course for every prep that they have. If you have 4 different preps throughout the day, you have to have 4 different Moodle courses because you're doing different activities, different resources for each of those periods that you're teaching. However, if you teach the same thing to more than one period, maybe you're a middle school teacher and you teach 7th grade science all day long to 6 different periods, you can use just a single Moodle course and then set up groups. This can really save you some time and work, so that instead of having 6 different groups where you're having to create the same things 6 times every time you want to put something new in there, by using groups you have one course, you put a quiz or whatever it is that you want to do into the course once, and all of your students in all 6 periods can access that activity. You only have to create it once instead of 6 times. But you can use groups within that course to be able to see their grades one period at a time and to organize the students for some of the different activities where you don't want them overlapping from one period to another. So you'll need groups if you have a schedule where you teach the same content to more than one set of students. So to do that, there are a couple of settings that you have to change to be able to use groups within your course. The first one is the enrollment method. So over on the left hand side under Administration, click on Users and then click on Enrollment Methods. And we're going to change the self-enrollment method. So click the little gear icon to the right for self-enrollment. And we had already set an enrollment key. What we're going to do to be able to use groups, however, is right below that enrollment key is change the option here that says use group enrollment keys. We want to change that to yes. So we're going to have an enrollment key here, and I'm just going to make that something that the kids cannot guess, so just some gibberish there. We're going to have a key here, and this cannot be blank. So we have a key here, but no one will use this. If someone uses this key, they're in the course, but they're not in a group. So that's not what we want. So we have to have something here, but we're not going to give this key to any students. The important part here is that we're going to use group enrollment keys. So we're going to set up our groups and give each group its own key, and then students will use the key for the group that we want them to be in. So on this screen, again, we're under Users, Enrollment Methods, and then Self-Enrollment. Make sure it has a key, and then make sure the Use Group Enrollment key is set to Yes. Scroll down to the bottom and save your changes. Okay, so that's set. The next thing we need to do is over here on the left, again under Administration. Another setting we have to change is on the Edit Settings screen. So under Administration, click on Edit Settings. And there are some other things you can change here that are completely unrelated to groups. So we'll skip over those for now. Just scroll down and find the section on groups. So when you click on groups, you see you have the option for group mode, and it's by default it's going to be no groups. We want to change that to separate groups. So if we change it here, this changes it for all of the activities that we might create in our course. That way we don't have to remember to change this on every single activity that we set up. Changing it here will make the default for the course already be separate groups. Now if you're using a course that you've already created activities in, if changing this here will not change any existing activities. You would still need to go back into those activities and change them to be separate groups. But this setting will save you some time on any new activities that you create. So under group mode, I've just changed it to separate groups. I'll scroll down and save changes. So we've got our settings right now. The next step is to actually create the groups. So under the Administration block again, click on Users and then click on Groups. On this screen you see a box here on the left that is empty because we don't have any groups yet. So the first thing we need to do is create a group with this middle button here below that. So click on the Create Group button. And the first thing you do is give it a name. So I'll call this First Period. And give it an enrollment key. So I might do Math 1. So this is the name of the group, and this is the key that I'll give students that belong in this group. And again, I've clicked the unmask checkbox here just to be able to see what I typed. It is case sensitive, so I've used all lower cases and no spaces anywhere, so it should be easy for students to type in Math 1 when they need to. Once that's set, click Save Changes, and you can see it's listed there. You can create a second group for second period. You can call your groups whatever you want. The important thing is to make sure that each group has a unique key. So I used Math 1 for the first period group. Here I'm just going to use Math 2. You would not be able to give all of your groups the same key. So you couldn't use Math for all 7 groups. You have to have a different key for each group, otherwise it won't know which group to put them in. So I've got 2 set up. You could repeat that process to create your other groups if you needed to. The 0 out from each of the group names tells me that's how many students are in that group, which is 0 because I don't have any students in this course yet. When I click on one of these groups in the box on the left, it's highlighted blue, and this box on the right would show me the names of the students in that group. If I needed to change it, I could click the Add or Remove button here, and I'd be able to change who's in a group. So at the beginning of the year, a lot of times you get student schedules changed. They move from first period to fifth period. You could come in here and take the kid out of first period's group and put them into your fifth period group if you needed to. So there we have our groups set up. When it's time for students to go into your course, they'll log into Moodle, they'll click on the name of your school, they will click on your course, and it will prompt them for the enrollment key. You just would, in this case, give them the key for whichever period they're in. So in my example here, it would be Math 1 or Math 2. And that's what would put them into that course and into the group, so that you didn't have to do that manually.